Addressing Representative Jim Hines. Potus candidate Michael Crosby, 2024. Jim, Mike, forward. Now the thing here is that there's nothing wrong with your assessment skills. I feel that I know exactly what you're looking at and the way you're assessing it. And I'm not going to tell you that there's anything wrong with that at all. Now there's more information that you need to understand. It's very important. I'm actually the best choice for the White House. There's a lot of reasons for that. Now, if I step up and talk about key items of evidence, it's important to put it onto the table. I can go into, I'm the #1 AI candidate. Nobody can come close to proposing what I'm going to propose and what kind of custom research I did on FTL, FTLC, classified stuff that went into Senator Kennedy, other material. Now, 9/11 predictions, all kinds of stuff. My assessment skills are right on the mark. What's important to understand is I have enormous amounts of evidence concerning parties that have done things wrong that go all the way up into treason territory. And Constitution articles are clear. Acts of war committed directly against a candidate disqualify them from the race. Now, I have turned over thousands of pages to the White House, and they have not responded properly. A little form letter telling you thank you, yada yada, that's not it. There are a lot of people disappointed. They need compensation. They've turned evidence over to the White House, no reaction. We have a problem in this country with insurrection, and we have to deal with it. That means anybody that has evidence needs to be worked with. Now, it'll take you a long time to get the files and go through my entire X account. I'm really pressed for resources. I can't run around spending millions and millions of dollars printing up documents and mailing out packages to people. So I have to be selective of who I hit at the time and go direct to the main point. I filed notice of operations declaring my full rights as presidential candidate panel on treason. The constitutional powers as a specialty during insurrection, invasion, insurrection, rebellion. There are different items that other people miss. They always keep going to the presidential rights. They're missing the specialty candidate rights, which deal with filing presidential candidate panel rights. I filed through the United States Senate, through the Secretary of the Senate, with the United States Archive. During these emergencies, the presidential candidate needs only verbally proclaim. It's very important to understand. This business about signatures as we see it is not constitutionally legal when you're looking at the requirements that many states are doing. And when I bring cases before the Senate or before the Congress, there is no double jeopardy, there are no statute of limitations, and there are no limits to how many times I can file appeals. The special area, I have filed for the whole ball of wax, all of the rights. Rights for MILTA, rights for foreign action to deal with whatever's necessary, all of the deluxe rights, full panel, full trial, seizure, sequestering, etc. I have 20 seats that I need to fill. I have 7 people right now that I'm looking at to fill these seats. I still don't have who I want to fill the seats because these people have to be highly ethical, very skilled, very moral based. So it's difficult to get the right number of people. Jim, if I go back here, the evidence I have, I've had 10,000 acts of violence against me and my campaign. I got people shooting at me. And it's also not the first time. It's important to understand. I've got 29 vehicles that have basically been destroyed. I have 14 RVs that are basically gone now. I have classified information that's been stolen. Numerous burglaries, the list goes on. It's extensive, Jim. I've had no cooperation from the FBI. I've had multiple threatenings and false arrests from law enforcement. Jim, the various sicknesses of these tea and punch drinkers is a crucial problem right now. This is not a game. And a lot of people are thinking that they can just scoot by this. They don't understand the true gravity of where we're at and the hard job that has to be done. The reality that 14 RVs were scheduled to begin service on and off the freeway system in crowded cities in California a year ago would have meant over 1 million people a day, every day, seeing these RVs. Immediately, I would have expanded operations. Right now, the minimum numbers would be between 7 and 9 million people a day, Jim, not seeing my name on RVs on freeway systems, going on and off clover leaves all over the country in crowded cities. This is very important. The excuses that a lot of these various parties are making and the dereliction of duty is inexcusable. We have a lot of Democrats that have fallen short. They have violated their constitutional oath. So quite frankly, my viewpoint here, Jim, is simple. These people, regardless of what party they're in, I'm fixing to run over them with a bulldozer from a legal standpoint, because treason charges and various other certain types of high charges have to be resolved before voting, counting, and certification is allowed to continue. If there are charges against Congress people, those parties have to deal with the situation where the other congressmen and other parties who have brought forth charges, the items, Jim, they have to be resolved because their votes become null and void. If I step up and say, you, treason, they are not allowed to vote. According to the Constitution articles, they're frozen. They are frozen. The matters have to be resolved. Their attorneys are not allowed to lie. They cannot construct false arguments. No excuses are allowed. It's a completely different theater of legal handling. And there are many people that don't understand these items. Now, as it currently goes, I was disappointed that convicted felon Trump wasn't charged with heavier charges than what he was actually charged for. You know, I'm upset about the impeachment items where the rumor floating around was, well, we want to spare the American public, and let's go with some lighter charges, and we'll just get him gone. And Republicans were voting this, apparently, and then they turned around and put the knife in. You know, Jim, these Republicans have no intent of certifying the election if it ain't going their way. I believe this. I see the tactical significance and all the signs that that's exactly what they're planning to do. And I want you to understand that I address high-end items, and Jim, I support you as an intelligent leader of our country. And I salute you for intelligently bringing forth the right questions, stepping forward and stating them in a very strong manner. Jim, there's a few more items. I'm the best candidate because I have the most comprehensive plans and solutions ever proposed. The samples of it have already been inserted into the X site. They're already up in tweets. Now, the balance of what's missing from those are in the rest of my databases. This I built despite the fact of the mass attacks upon the archive that I had to deal with and the mass loss. So, Jim, I'm set up here. I'm ready to go. I could really use $100 million in support right now. That would work quite well because I have $56 billion locked in on paperwork, Jim, to be able to identify these parties as a RICO, as parties have used their businesses as an instrument of crime, and begin the seizure process for both assets and liquid. This will move things very rapidly. But Jim, I have to find people that believe in high ethics, that believe in justice, and are willing with the guts to move forward. Jim, I understand you're busy, so I want to thank you for your time. And I encourage you, if you find some time, that there are interesting items. Now, Jim, I'll state too, I put a lot of stuff out there in layman. It's completely different than the conversations we would have on the telephone or in person. Thank you, Jim. Michael Crosby, candidate for POTUS 2024.